Ribs and Germs, welcome to Ever Dafter, and prior to our feature film review, I have a question to ask you. What do you think of when you think about the Halloween season? Do you have any coveted memories about dressing up as your favorite slasher villain, or gluing fur to your body and becoming the Wolfman? For me, I had a lot of fond memories about watching my favorite television program, and seeing how they would bend themselves to the will of All Hallows Eve. Whether it be watching an ongoing marathon of a horror series on the Sci-Fi Channel, or the million installments they made to that Scary Godmother series on Cartoon Network, or watching a block of sitcoms unravel ridiculous, outlandish storylines in commemoration of the season. I have a lot of nostalgic memories, not only of my own experiences, but of the season itself and the connections I make to it. Although it may have some other representation or explanation or cause of celebration, I choose to whittle it down to what matters the most for me. A celebration of dark fiction and all things that go bump in the night. It has been tradition the last couple of years to spend Halloween with a couple of friends watching horror movies, shooting the breeze and catching up on old times. This year we decided to watch a 2013 comedy horror film called WNUF Halloween Special. If you're not familiar with the film, I would not blame you in the least. Certainly I knew nothing about the film prior, selecting it off the Shudder streaming service on my friend's request. Let's say firstly that the WNUF Halloween Special is a very peculiar film, to say the least. This is not peculiar in the same way that a normal horror film is peculiar, mind you, but both from a structural standpoint and in its intent. The film was directed primarily by Chris Larmatina, although there is a stockpile of names who were also involved in the project. The film was shot reportedly for about $1,500, but has surprisingly received a generally warm reception from critics and moviegoers alike. Granted, I will preface early on that this is a feature that will not be for everyone, and if asked by the average person, I would not necessarily recommend it to them. This is because the WNUF Halloween Special is meant as a parody of an old-school local news broadcast done for the holiday season. I hesitate to call it a parody of an old-school local news broadcast, however, because it does not hold back in the slightest. This film went all out to try and recreate the feeling of a public television broadcast. This film has a handful of commercials and segments incorporated into it. This film has localized commercials for mattress warehouses and committees against partying teenagers, and a lot of other things, and although there is humor in them, they feel like actual commercials made by a mattress warehouse and committees against partying. In that respect, WNUF Halloween Special is fantastically made in terms of its realistic depiction of the source inspiration. However, in that same breath, by doing so well at capturing that, it highlights and celebrates the badness of the entertainment medium as well. In WNUF Halloween Special, the major storyline is muffled under a lot of other content, but it is basically this. A television reporter named Frank Stewart has decided to investigate the Weber house, the site of a brutal murder that took place years ago. The house has since carried this mystique around it, with some even claiming it is haunted by evil spirits. Frank brings with him a man named Father Joseph Matheson, who Frank claims is versed in Catholic exorcism rites, and a couple named Lewis and Claire Berger, two paranormal investigators who are meant to help wade through the evil spirits. As you might have already assumed, Lewis and Claire Berger do appear to be at least inspired by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Something I love about the WNUF Halloween Special is that it mostly plays it straight and does not appear to be laughing with you at the joke. This is obviously a parody by definition, but it does not hammer in every joke or every absurdity, allowing you to make the observation yourself and put it in context with what you've actually seen in real life. For instance, I know we have all seen the preachy commercials about Halloween being satanic and all the other religious fanatic mumbo-jumbo that happens when you allow wackos a way to broadcast themselves. I also know that every time I watch a paranormal investigator on television explain themselves, I snicker at their apparent lack of self-awareness. Like those guys who would, say they heard the devil speaking if you played a Beatles album in reverse. The film is clearly drawing attention to those particular aspects about public television broadcasts, but it does not feel like an actual parody, more like a long-lost videotape from an actual broadcast. In general, that in itself and how they're able to do it so well is so cool. And the commercials offer the same cringeworthy realness of a local broadcast advertisement. Every time the narrator welcomes us to the WNUF Halloween Special, after commercials met with the same cheap blood pouring special effect, it feels thematic and genuine. Actor Paul Follenkopf does really well in his role, embodying a public broadcast news person in a very believable fashion, and in fact, most everyone involved feels believable in their portrayal. Something that benefits them is the fact that, because of the concept's format, their imperfections, or the instances when it feels like they're acting or performing, only helps with the immersion into the idea. For the most part, everything's played straight and serious, with the humor, arising from how familiar and yet stupid everything is. But I'll be honest, there is a scene when the newsman is trying to convince the priest to perform an exorcism, which the priest declines, saying that they'd be better off, calling the cops. The newsman looks him dead in the eye and says, "You can't put handcuffs on a ghost." And mwah. I'll admit, early on, I did not like this film. Once the initial novelty wears thin, you're not left with a lot else. The film martyrs itself in that respect, willing to take a hit for the benefit of its premise. So, I worked a night shift, and during it I find myself occasionally in the break room. There is a large flat-screen television that no one uses, right? Normally it is always on Comedy Central because that's South Park, and I mean South Park, right? Well, on occasion someone flips the channel and no one cares to change it back. That's when the infomercials play, and I'll be honest, I have watched a man sell his quarter collection more often than I care to admit. That's about what the first half hour of this 83-minute film feels like. However, as the main storyline is allowed to unpack itself, the novelty returns, oozing with charm, and it carries you to a payoff that is both impactful and memorable. I like the WNUF Halloween Special film a lot, but I had to adjust my expectation in line with their intent. As a film, you have to accept that half of it, while charming, is deliberately dull as old dishwater. But I did start to warm up to it and become genuinely entertained by it beyond the simple novelty of its concept. This is a film I feel like you could have playing in the background of a party, and it would fill that Halloween vibe into the room. I would recommend it in that respect with the right frame of mind. As the Halloween season bids us farewell, I hope all of you are doing well. I'm looking forward to the future of ReadersDigested.com. For a while, it had only been John Clark and I writing reviews for the brand, but it seems like we're starting to make some headway again. Thank you to everyone who downloaded a copy of my horror novel Lunacy's Dance, which was on sale for the days leading up to and shortly after Halloween. Over 60 supporters downloaded a copy of the novel and helped it break into the top 250 downloaded horror novels on Amazon for the day. As of a couple days ago, Mercy Grimm came on board to Reader's Digested, publishing her first video on the website. I look forward to seeing her around the Make-Believe office, as well as some of the other individuals who I've been networking with in recent days. If you deem it worthy, I hope you will consider subscribing to Reader's Digested's official YouTube channel, and I hope you'll be along for the fun ride that awaits us. Thanks for joining me on Ever Dafter, and I'll see you again